Majority. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Thank you, Council President. My mother's name was Sadie Tony Reynolds. She raised my brother and sisters on pearls of wisdom that we now call Sadieisms. Recently as last Thursday following City Council, I was reminded of one of my mother's Sadieisms. When you care deeply about an issue or an injustice, when a matter taps or tugs at your heartstrings in a visceral way, do not be silent. Recognize that silence is betrayal. No one should stand by and allow or tolerate a highly qualified, credentialed woman, a well-respected professional with 2 decades of experience in the financial sector, to be used as a scapegoat by multiple departments over multiple years through multiple administrations in the City of Philadelphia government. Today, I rise to raise my voice as I will not allow any woman to be thrown the blame of years of mistakes, inefficiencies, mishandlings, mistakes, or lack of oversight when she, an African-American woman, has finally been given a seat at the table. Thank you to Mayor Jim Kenney for recruiting, identifying, and hiring competent women with impeccable credentials and exceptional experience. Our City Treasurer, Rashia Johnson, is no exception. Our City Treasurer has served as an investment banker, financial advisor, and bond issuer in her stellar 20-year career. She has also worked in the Municipal Finance Department at Loop Capital Markets in Philadelphia, and moreover also served as our City Assistant to the Director of Finance and Debt Management. Throughout her career, our City Treasurer has managed over $7 billion, that's billion with a B, in transactions with complex technical and analytical experience. Therefore, she has a proven record of leadership and excellence working in both the government and private sector. My mother would say she has earned her stripes. I commend our City Treasurer on her commitment to being completely transparent in our government. I thank her for not only bringing the issue of the unreconciled bank accounts to our attention, but also releasing an RFP to find a third party to resolve the problems that were present long before she was appointed to her post. Let me be clear. So to ensure that there is no interpretation or misinterpretation of my intent, I have chosen to speak up and speak out as an advocate for a highly qualified woman with an unblemished record of performance prior to deciding and choosing the opportunity to serve the citizens of our city. Let's review the facts. Rashia Johnson assumed her position in January 2016. The city has known about these issues as far back as 2014 during another administration when several employees in the Treasury office responsible for daily bookkeeping suddenly left their jobs. Fact. Findings reveal that Johnson is the only treasurer to reconcile payroll records since 2010. Has anyone probed why her predecessors did not address the missing $27 million? My homework tells me that Rashia Johnson's predecessors did not reconcile payroll for 7 years. Based on homework, the good news I have to report is that one of her predecessors has fully acknowledged that the discovery itself is the result of her diligent work. Thank you, Rob DeBoe. Comptroller Reinhardt stated that, and I quote, "Not reconciling accounts is an inducement for wrongdoing," end quote. Really? However, if there was any wrongdoing, it was not on Rashia Johnson's watch. Ms. Johnson inherited this unresolved financial issue. The operative word is inherited. In fact, as best as I can tell, Rashia is the only professional who took steps to clean up this mess that other professionals failed to address. Ms. Johnson identified the problem. Ms. Johnson did not run away from the discovery. Ms. Johnson identified the best course of action to resolve the problem. And as I tell my daughter all the time, look the lion in the mouth and say, "I will not be eaten." Ms. Johnson has now proceeded to fix the problem. It is now fair that we allow the city treasurer to solve this 7-year problem on the city's behalf. It is now appropriate that we allow the city treasurer and the designated third party to complete their assignment accurately, not rapidly, but accurately. Yes, it is absolutely appropriate that as we, as members of City Council, probe, inquire about the processes within city departments, drill down, and ask the tough questions that we all do every day about how we spend our taxpayers' dollars. This is our duty as elected members of this legislative body. However, in fulfilling this duty, we should also be fair and judicious as we seek the answers to our legitimate questions. Fact: since the news has been made public, there have been departures from the Finance and Treasurer's office. Did anyone look behind the facts? Did anyone care to look at any of the past history? Our colleague, Councilman Dahm, and others have compared the urgency of chief financial officers and accountants in the private sector and business to that of Ms. Johnson's team. Legitimate. Many of us are aware that many businesses in the private and non-practice sectors manage CFO transitions very delicately and often allot several months for onboarding, shadowing, and intel sharing between the departing and incoming financial officers. I witnessed this up close and personal at the Urban League of Philadelphia with the transition of their leadership and the Philadelphia Visitors and Convention Bureau with the transition of their controller. What I now know is that in the city of Philadelphia currently does not follow that model, leaving our treasurer or any treasurer to navigate departmental finances of varying sizes and complexities with little to no assistance. Fact: having conferred with a number of experts over the last week, including my sister, who's a CPA charged with finding offshore accounts for the federal government, it takes a treasurer up to 6 months to begin to grasp and fully analyze all accounts and functions, especially when there has been a complete lack of disclosure from those who have departed the position and left behind limited information with limited help for the transition, be that intentional or unintentional. Fact: Ms. Johnson discovered the lack of reconciliations in May of 2016, 5 months after she started and was working without the help and guidance of her predecessor. There have been many criticisms of Ms. Johnson, and most of them have come from white men. Everyone has the luxury to seize the opportunity to criticize, to cast judgment, to have an opinion. That's easy. No one gets to dispute the facts. So if we're going to throw the net, let us cast the net wide and include everyone who had a role and share in the responsibility of this long-standing, unresolved financial matter before January 2016 when Rashida Johnson arrived. Fact: what so many people have failed to disclose is that shortly after Johnson took her post as treasurer in 2016, and after she discovered the lack of reconciliations, she left for leave, maternity leave, to take care of her newborn child. She did not return until December of 2016, several months later. Due to the fact that the city of Philadelphia did not implement the opportunity to work from home until January 2018, just 4 months ago, Rashida Johnson was not able to adequately address these issues, and neither did anyone above her pay grade, despite knowing of the discoveries. I repeat, we can all have an opinion. No one can argue the facts. Therefore, in my personal opinion, this is yet another example of the disguised discrimination, mistreatment, and lack of policies in place to ensure the success of pregnant professional women and other mothers across professions in our city. Now, I'm not surprised, because as I tell my daughter all the time, women must walk on water to be considered equal. Black and brown women have to walk on water excellently and fly flawlessly to be equal. Rashida Johnson is not unlike the women in this city council. She has what my mother calls gumption, I call moxie, and what my daughter calls keeping it 100, telling it like it is. Ms. Johnson's credentials, experience, work ethic, dedication, honesty, and integrity should not be challenged. I cannot be silent, because silence is betrayal. In closing, Comptroller Reinhardt, who's also a working mother, said, "There is a cultural change that needs to happen on the financial management of the city." I agree. However, certainly not to the detriment of working mothers, pregnant mothers, black and brown women, women, period, and the children that these women come from. Perhaps the cultural change needs to start with us, those in leadership, to accommodate, encourage, and treat working mothers with impressive credentials of all socioeconomic backgrounds with the same yardstick we measure others. Fact: a large number of gender-blind studies conducted within various workforces show that women are often held to impossible standards and put in positions to take the blame for others' mistakes. No. Given all I have read and learned on this matter, I will not allow that circumstance here in this City Council so blatantly and, in my personal point of view, with unwarranted judgment. One of my heroes, Shonda Rhimes, stated, and I quote, "There is such an interest in things being equal, and such a weary acceptance that it is not," end quote. So I stand today to say I am not weary of standing up and advocating for yet another woman, most especially competent and qualified women with unblemished careers, when they have been unrightfully belittled and accused of oversights, non-disclosures, and mistakes created on someone else's watch. Mr. President, we can all have an opinion. No one can dispute the facts. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilwoman.